It's week 3 of 2022. I'm Smitha Nair. This is your weekly fix. In 1972, Mathura, a young Adivasi girl from Maharashtra, was raped by 2 policemen inside a police station. The case went up to the Supreme Court, which acquitted the accused. The court held that Mathura had not raised an alarm. The lack of visible injury marks on her showed there was no struggle or resistance on her part. And that, because she had a history of premarital sex, she might have incited the cops. The widespread protests that followed resulted in the first changes in India's rape laws. But it was only in 2002 that we did away with the clause in the Evidence Act that said, when a man is prosecuted for rape, he may show that the prosecutrix, which is the victim, was of generally immoral character. Why do we see the defense invoke past sexual history of the victim in almost every rape case? Well, since consent, rather the lack of it, is what the case is based on, the past sexual history of the victim is used to suggest that she must have consented to sexual intercourse with the accused, as she generally consents to it with other men as well. Anyway, the changes in the Rape Law and the Evidence Act in 2002 and subsequently the 2013 Criminal Law Amendment in the wake of the Delhi gang rape were meant to put an end to this method of discrediting the testimony and evidence of the victim. But these rape myths continue to make their way into judgments even today. The judgment of the trial court acquitting Bishop Franco Mulakkal, accused of raping a nun, is a case in point. Why is this happening? Does this judgment set back the hard-fought gains made over the last 4 decades? Let's ask Flavia Agnes, women's rights lawyer and pioneer of the women's movement in India. I want to state a trigger warning here. The following conversation contains descriptions of sexual assault and rape as documented in the judgment. Ma'am, thank you for making the time. While discrediting the victim's testimony, the judgment lists what it says are contradictory versions given by her to different persons at different points of time. Primarily, much has been made about the fact that she told 2 of her companions that the bishop is, quote, forcing her to share his bed with him, and that she did not specifically say that she was subjected to rape or sexual violence on 13 occasions, and that in separate communications with another bishop and cardinal, she did not explicitly mention the words rape or sexual violence. Additionally, the judge, while concluding that it is, quote, hard to believe the victim's explanation that she could not disclose in the presence of her companion sisters, also asks why she specifically did not describe penile penetration in her statement to the doctor. Can you reflect on this reasoning by the judge?
First and foremost, I think one needs to clarify here judge's own understanding of sexual assault. I don't know where he's getting his definition from, but I can definitely see that he's not abreast with all the amendments that have gone on, particularly the 2013 amendment, which expanded the narrow definition of rape as penovaginal penetration to penetration by penis of any bodily orifice like mouth, anus. All of these come under the sexual assault now, under the rape law, and also fondling, making the victim, the abuser making the victim do sexual acts like holding the penis, and all of them come within the sexual assault category. So now she's mentioned various things. So sometimes she says penovaginal, sometimes she says not penovaginal, but inserting fingers into her vagina. Would this constitute a rape? As per the 2013 amendment, it would. Because inserting, not just inserting the penis in any bodily orifice, but also inserting any other objects or fingers into her vagina would constitute rape as per amended section 375. So whether she has said sexual assault, rape, making her do various acts, any of this, it would constitute offense under section 375. Even further, if you analyze that statement what she made to her companions, prosecution witness 3 and 4, she says she was very tense after a retreat. And when I asked her, why are you tense? She says, because of the visit of the bishop. So she said, what happens if the bishop comes? And she says, he will force me to share his bed. Now, what happens in bed, in what context is said, we all know. Now, here the important element is forcing her. He is a supervisor. He is immediate boss, superior to her, coming to the convent. And there she says, there's no element of consent here very clearly. She says, he will force me. And she's very uncomfortable about it. Of course, she does not disclose that he's already done this. But she only says that I'm afraid that he will make me do this. He will make me do means non-consensual. He will make her share the bed is entirely non-consensual. And we know what happens on the bed and what is the tension, what is the anxiety. So a lot of times a victim use words like, he did bad things to me, kharab kaam, balatkar kar diya. So all these are, in lay people's language, constitute rape. Now she's a nun. She's not exposed to all the sexual terms. You can't expect any victim to understand the legal language, what the IPC says, what is rape, etc.
Yes.
And forcing her to share the bed itself connotes that non-consensual, a sort of a abuse of authority. Somebody is forcing her to do something against her will. She does not have the power to resist it, which clearly shows that what is happening is without a consent. That means it amounts to rape. Now, without a consent here also is very important, considering he is a superior. He's visiting the convent. He is going to come in the night and do all these things to her. So I don't see what is the harm, how her evidence is tarnished by using this. Very clearly, evidence she gives on the first day, all the acts he has made her do, which starts around page 44 of the judgment, where he says that he inserted his fingers into my vagina, he forced his penis into my mouth, and he ejaculated on her face, he wiped with a dhoti. All these are such descriptive terms that she has said in the court. And the judge has disbelieved her entirely. On what basis? That she is not a sterling witness. She's not a credible witness. We cannot go by what she's saying because she's saying different things at different times. According to me, when I read the judgment, she's saying the same thing all the time. So this narrow interpretation takes us like 40 years back.
Right.
What constitutes consent? What constitutes non-consent? What constitutes sexual assault? What constitutes rape? These terms have gone through several changes. After the Mathura judgment, if you see in 1978, we have moved further, and every time there has been an amendment, every time there is a new interpretation, and a judge trying such an important case has to be very well conversant with these changes, which according to me, this judge seems to be not aware, not conversant, not familiar with the rape.
The judgment, ma'am, also doesn't seem to give much weight to the skewed power dynamic between the accused and the victim, a dynamic that would credibly explain the conduct of the victim following the incidents of sexual assault. Instead, what appears to confound the judge is how the victim nun could have traveled with the bishop as part of her duties after the alleged assault. How a victim responds or acts after acquaintance rape differs from that to stranger rape.
Exactly. The crux of the matter here is that relationship. She's the mother superior of that convent. She's got people, a team working along with her who can be considered as juniors or companions. And here is this bishop coming all the way from Jalandhar to visit the convent to perform certain other obligations or where he's supposed to perform as a chief priest, etc. Now, here what she does after the rape, she's called upon to perform her duties. If she doesn't want to disclose this abuse at this moment, she has no other choice but to appear normal. Because if she acts like sad, if she cries, etc., it will arouse questions. She'll say, what is happening? What is happening? She will be forced to disclose what happened in the night.
Right.
She was not yet ready at that time. So she acts as much normal as possible. Very rarely do victims immediately disclose to the police, to the authorities. For a long time, they just carry on. And when this abuse goes on and on and on, and when all her complaints to the internal authorities within the church have not yielded any results, then only she goes and files a complaint to the police. Until that point, she tries to maintain normalcy. We seem to have certain image in our head. As soon as the rape occurs, the behavior of the victim with the accused will change. She acts differently. She will not interact with him. She will move away. This is not what happens in actual life at all. So the normalcy. Now we have an image that after rape, she will do this, she will do this. This is all the judicial myths that are created and societal myths that are created. She will cry, she will look distraught, she will shun his company. This doesn't happen at all. In most cases, this just does not happen. Most cases are reported after like 6 months, 1 year, 2 years after the incident. Until that point, the victim acts as normal as possible with the accused person. So I don't see anything abnormal happening. In fact, this is the most normal thing. If the judge has dealt with rape cases earlier, he would know this much, that her behavior after the incident does not in any way discredit her or her statement what happened the previous night. So that's a wrong conclusion that the judge has drawn here. The judge, in a way, approaches the evidence, according to me, with a biased mind. He's not giving her the same leeway he's given the accused.
Yes.
And constantly tries to puncture holes in her evidence, in her behavior, in her approach, in her attitude. And that is what is wrong with this judgment.
Ma'am, many jurisdictions across the world have rape shield laws that bar or limit the accused from using the victim's past sexual history as evidence in an attempt to discredit her. In India, only in 2002 did we do away with the clause in the Evidence Act that said when a man is prosecuted for rape, it may be shown that the prosecutrix, which is the victim, was of generally immoral character. The 2013 criminal law amendment in the wake of the Delhi gang rape provided a rape shield by introducing Section 53A, that evidence of character or previous sexual experience is not relevant in cases of prosecution under certain cases of rape, where the question of consent is an issue. Now, despite this, we saw in the Tarun Tejpal case, the trial court referred to the survivor's sexual history in lurid detail. So much so that the Bombay High Court, while issuing notices in the appeal, said that the trial court judgment which acquitted Tejpal appeared like a manual on how rape victims should behave. Even in the Franco case trial court judgment, it would seem that the nun failed the ideal rape victim test. The judgment makes a reference to an affair that the nun allegedly had. Am I missing something here in my understanding of the 2013 amendment? I mean, why is this still happening?
Absolutely. That is forbidden by the law, that he cannot use her past sexual history. And
Right.
this is from like 2002 amendment to the Evidence Act under 153. Actually, there are like 2 points of similarities between the Tarun Tejpal acquittal judgment of the Sessions Court and the Franco Molakal acquittal judgment. Now, in both these cases, there are two factors that are coming up again and again. The demeanor of the victim after the incident of rape. In the Tarun Tejpal case also, they have a video recording of the victim or survivor when she comes out of the lift. And according to the defense, she looked normal. She looked happy, she looked normal. She carried on with her duties, with the functions. It was a literary festival that was going on. She was assigned certain duties and she carried on with that. That makes the incident that negates the incident, saying that it didn't happen. Had she been raped, she would have come out, she would have like shouted, screamed, saying that this man has abused me in the lift. Whereas the fact that she continued with her responsibilities and she tried to look as normal as possible has gone against her. And the judge has drawn adverse inference from that. Similarly, this in the Franco Molakal case, that the nun traveled with the accused and looked normal on the following day or on following same after several other incidences of violence, but next day she doesn't look distressed, distraught, and carries on with the responsibility. The judge, both the cases have come to the conclusion that it did not happen. This is one thing common.
Right.
In both the cases, the judges have brought past sexual history to discredit the survivor. In Tarun Tejpal case also, this is very, very obvious that she had friends, she has a boyfriend. She's not like denied that, but the fact that she does not fit into the so-called normal or the judge's own creation of a virtuous woman, sexually not fitting the norm of so-called Indian society, etc. That has been used against it has been used to say that this woman's testimony is not reliable. It is not relevant, and they punctured holes in this statement.
Right. Ms. Agnes, ma'am, some of our listeners may be unfamiliar with this aspect of the Franco case that you are about to analyze. So just let me quickly brief them. The accused bishop's defense in court was that a cousin of the victim nun had approached the bishop with a complaint that the nun was having an illicit affair with her husband, and that the bishop ordered an inquiry against the nun on that basis. As per the defense, it was then that the nun accused the bishop of rape in retaliation for him ordering an inquiry against her. Ma'am, please continue.
This cousin's story, according to me, should not have been there at all. She has confided in her spiritual mother, whom she goes and talks, sometime in 2014, that she has been abused. And that nun also came to court and gave evidence that the nun prayed over her, meditated, etc., to get the spiritual strength to combat. Now, here if you see, and then this letter by the cousin comes much later, 2 years later, whereas this thing is going on. She's already confided with her companions also that she's scared when the bishop visits the convent, etc. Sometime 2016, these allegations are made against her by her own cousin. The cousin is in Delhi. Bishop is in Jalandhar. You wonder why. You wonder why the cousin made this complaint at that particular point of time, and who, in a way, instigated or caused this complaint to be filed. Nobody has inquired about that. But what is important, and then she wrote this letter saying that she accused the nun of having a sexual relationship with her own husband. But she came to court and she withdrew that complaint, and she said that was a false complaint. After she said that, the defense has still relied upon her to make her look like a woman of easy virtue, to cast doubts about a character in the public mind. You keep asking, oh my God, if she did this, I mean, what kind of a woman she is, to appear in common lingo, it's called like not a virtuous woman, a woman of easy virtue, to cast doubts in the minds of the public. This has been done. And his judge has no right to rely upon a document which the writer of that document herself has come into the witness box and has said that this is false. I had done this false case. It's a fabricated incident. Now, whether it is fabricated or otherwise, it is past sexual history. Nobody's case is that today she's having an affair. It is past. Can that past sexual history, whether it is true, whether it is validated, whether it is fabricated, cannot be used at all against her in a rape trial. The rape trial is not, cannot discredit her with something that happened past in her life. You have to only deal with the incidents that she's complained against. These are the issues to be tried, not her character, not her past history. And then here you have this other thing, and that's, I mean, there are 2 points here which are extremely disturbing for me. One is that her hymenist tone, medical examinations revealed that, and the judge conveniently attributes to her illicit affair with a cousin's husband, and not that vaginal penetration or finger penetration which the accused caused her, which is very clearly said this.
Right. I'm reminded of what Justice Krishna Iyer once said, that a socially sensitized judge is a better armor against gender outrage than long clauses of a complex section with all the protections written to it. Is it the lack of training and sensitization of judges that leads to what we're seeing?
There's a lot of training happening in our country. The whole term training itself is being misused. Everywhere, National Judicial Academy, State Judicial Academy, all the time, everybody is doing training. In fact, you remember this other case where the judge made a comment about skin. There was no skin to skin contact.
Yes.
A High Court judge, a lady judge, and now she is going to be demoted. Now, this judge is being demoted, saying that she doesn't understand enough about the subject. She needs more training and more exposure. This judge was a trial court judge in the Sessions Court, before which we have litigated so many rape cases of minors under POCSO and got a secret conviction. More than that, she was the director of the Maharashtra Judicial Academy. She was structuring the courses. She was conducting the training. Now, what better exposure can she have? So there are these mindsets that don't change. These are very rigid mindsets that go right across the judiciary at all levels. We have that an incident by the Chief Justice of Supreme Court where he asked the accused that do you want to marry the victim at the highest level?
Yes.
How do we make these people accountable? There is no system beyond the Supreme Court or Chief Justice for accountability. Now, where lapses are happening at that high level, in the High Court, in the Supreme Court, etc. There might be few sensitive judges. There may be a few judges who are not really sensitive, but are well versed with the law and they will apply the law as it should be. And there are others who are able to camouflage their gender bias very well through their own articulation. And there may be others who are not able to do this, and it comes up. So the patriarchy runs so deep into our judicial system that it's very difficult to dislodge it, despite all the trainings that are happening. According to me, we never monitor our impact of our training. We just say judges come, do the training, go. How does our training, in fact, impact their decisions after the training? Is there an assessment? Is there a monitoring? Is there an accountability? Nothing of this is there. You have a budget, you conduct the training, judges go back into their, do the same thing, and nobody is bothered. Their concern is that we have to spend this budget, we have to conduct X number of trainings, and we have done that. And they're like very complacent into this entire procedure. And so impact assessment we don't have, whereas some countries have.
Yes.
After the training, the judgment they're supposed to submit, and the superior judges must assess to what extent the or how much the training helped them to change their mindset. We don't have any such things. So we have the Goa Sessions Court judgment in the very high profile again Tarun Kejriwal case,
Yes.
where it ended in acquittal. We have many cases are there, and then the latest law comes from this judgment, which according to me has such high impact, particularly for nuns within the Catholic church hierarchy, and also women in general. It's not just a Catholic women's issue. It is not only a nun's issue. It sort of questions the entire anti-rape movement of the last over 40 years since the Mathura judgment in 1978. So we've gone several steps backwards.
Right.
And we have in a way, it's so glaring that you may win one case here or one case there, but then there are several steps backward that we go all the time.
Right. This is just so distressing. I hope that those that can affect change are listening. Flavia ma'am, thank you for aiding our understanding of this case and placing in context what this verdict means in the larger battle for gender rights. We have to keep talking. We have to keep this conversation going. For the moment, though, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.